welcome to another exciting review of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. You are most welcome. Please sit back, relax as we review chapter 11 together. Chapter 11 is titled Reasonable is Greater Than Rational. Aiming to be mostly reasonable works better than trying to be coldly rational. So don't be coldly rational, don't be rationally cold. Instead, be reasonable. As far as your finances, your money is concerned, you are not a spreadsheet, you are not a statue, you are a person, you are a human being. You have blood flowing in your veins and you have a brain, you can think, you have emotions, you can be disappointed, your plans may not go like you envisaged and things like that. So have all of these at the back of your mind and let this guide you in your decision on how you beat yourself up when you do not make wise financial decisions. It took me a while to figure this out, says the author. But once it's clicked, I realized it is one of the most important parts of finance to be reasonable. What are those things that make sense to you when it comes to making money, saving money, investing? Right. So do not aim to be coldly rational, to throw your emotions out of the window when you are dealing with money. To say, well, I don't care, whatever happens, happens. No. Instead of that, sit down and think things through. Okay, if it goes this way, will I be fine? What if it goes that way? Am I familiar with this and all of that? We'll talk more on that as we proceed. So, reasonable is more realistic, and you have a better chance of sticking with it for the long run, which is what matters when managing money. That is what matters the most. And there is a story here that can help us understand this better. There was a man, a psychiatrist, named Julius Wagner Jauregg. He was a 19th century psychiatrist with two unique skills. Number one, he was very, very good at observing patterns in his patients and, as far as his work was concerned. And was also very good at taking bold steps. So what others thought was crazy, he found it to be bold, right? His specialty was patients with neurosyphilis. That's a mental disorder, mental problem, right? And he would diagnose them, he would treat them. But then he started noticing a pattern that patients with syphilis tended to recover faster if they had an added misfortune of fever or prolonged fever or from an unrelated illness. If a patient had fever, that fever would make that patient to recover faster. So he started observing that pattern. And at a point, he started injecting his patients with low-end or low-dosage typhoid, malaria, or smallpox. Although some of his patients died, but he carried on with this experiment. And after a while, he stopped some other things and was only injecting them with very low dose of malaria. And then his experiments worked out. He even went ahead to win a Nobel Prize in medicine in 1927. And his experiment was linked to the fact that if you have fever in your body, it can help fight against infection. Yes. So if that's a minimal rise in temperature is not after all bad for the body. That is a way of your body saying that, oh, I'm fighting infection for you. And it has even been established that it can stop the multiplication of some viruses in the body. So what a lot of people think to be bad, that, oh, your child is having fever, take her to the hospital and all of that, is not so bad after all, right? But then the thing is that in as much as it has been established medically that fever is not so bad for the body, it can actually help to fight against infection. It can actually bring about wellness in patients, in psychiatric patients, just like this Dr. Julius established. Even at that, we have so many pharmaceutical companies who are making drugs to cure fever or to treat fever. Yeah, better. To treat fever. We have doctors who would quickly swing into action when you bring your child to say, oh, this child is having fever. We have parents who would panic. I'm a parent, and if my child is having fever, I cannot keep looking at him or her like that, saying, oh, fever is good for the body. No. So why does this happen? If fever or fevers are beneficial, why do we fight them so universally? The author doesn't think this is complicated because it is a known fact that fever hurts, right? Nobody wants to have fever. If you have fever now and you go to the hospital, you're not going to stay there, let the doctor tell you that, oh, don't worry, it's not a bad thing. Your headache is going to go away, or this your temperature is going to get better. Don't worry. No, what you want at that instance is a cure, is a form of treatment for you to get better. And it is because fever hurts and people don't want to be hurt. That is the truth. So this same thing, this same philosophy of aiming to be reasonable instead of being rational is one more people should consider when making decisions with their money. All of us should try to do something that is reasonable. It is only reasonable that you treat fever if you have fever, right? Because it hurts you. It doesn't allow you to go to work. It doesn't allow you to have a good sleep. It stops your life at some point. Your life is on pause. You can't do the things that you usually do. So it is only reasonable that you take an anti-fever drug, right? But Dr. Julius felt that it was rational. Okay, don't rush to take any medicine, any medicine at all to cure fever, because the fever is actually good. It is helping you to fight infection. So now let us focus more on money. There are so many rational things that we have on paper. Oh, if you invest in this, you will get this returns. If you follow this investment strategy, you know, this is what will come out of it. Or there is a pattern, right? So if you are a young person, you want to start investing, you should consider doing this. Even if you lose all your money, if you start investing when you are young, you can still bounce back and start all over again. So many rational theories, rational strategies about investment. But it is only wise for you to be reasonable. Don't just follow what is written in the books. Don't just follow what financial experts says, right? When you want to invest your money, be a little bit cautious and let that caution help you to be reasonable. For example, it is reasonable to put your money into an investment that you are familiar with, instead of jumping into an investment that you are not familiar with, but you're doing it anyways, just because somebody said it is good. That way, you're taking a rational action, right? So whether rational or irrational, try to be reasonable. Markowitz is neither rational or irrational. He said that when he wants to invest his money, because he's afraid of losing everything, he will split it 50-50. He'll put 50 into bonds and 50 into equities, you know. So if it is reasonable for you to do the business that you know and you are sure of steady but small returns, and your mind will be at peace, you will not have sleepless nights, it is better you go for it than for somebody to promise you high returns, but you're always having palpitations. You are always having sleepless nights. Nobody is enjoying you at home again because you have taken a very big risk that is more than you, right? This is not to say don't take risks at all, but take calculated risks. Be reasonable, ask questions, do your due diligence. You don't want to throw your money into a company. There's a good example here that I like. For you to say, okay, a particular company is selling shares. The company looks promising. The products they do, it looks like they're going to make money, right? But then you don't like this company. You don't even understand them. But because it is promising, what they do does not align with your value or anything. You just put your money there coldly. That's being coldly rational. You just put your money there because, oh, at least let me get my own high returns. I'm not so concerned about what they do or they don't do. That would be rational. It would be more reasonable to put your money into a company that you are familiar with. You like what they are doing. What they do align with your value. A good example that is coming to my mind right now is if you are a Christian and you just invest your money into a company that produces cigarettes when your values are against that, but just because there is a prospect of high returns, right? If that company goes down, you will not be happy. But then you want to just console yourself to say, well, after all, I'm going to get a lot of money from this, right? You don't want to do that. It is better you go for something that will bring you good returns. Even if that company does not do well eventually, you are not going to feel so hurt. You'll be like, and I really like this company. I like what they stand for. They promote justice, they promote integrity, they promote values, great values in our society. Do you understand? You're not going to be so hurt, right? We don't have a lot to talk about here. I think this chapter is one of the most technical that we have read so far. But in order not to bore you, I'm just trying to summarize the entire chapter for you. And the summary boils down to you being reasonable with your money. There is another example here that says that a lot of people, so many people, have home bias. They rather prefer to invest in companies from their home country, the country where they were born and bred, where they've lived almost all of their adult life, ignoring the other 95% of companies on planet Earth. And this is because they are trying to be reasonable. They are trying to put their money where their mind is, where their root is, where their faith is, where their mouth is, where whatever is that, oh, at least this is my own country. Instead of investing in a foreign land where they are, and at the end of the day, they are blaming themselves that, oh, they were not familiar with the terrain and they just went ahead with it. So sometimes don't just be coldly rational and act as if you don't have emotions when your money is involved. You have emotions. If you lose your money, you're going to cry, right? God will not allow us cry. So be reasonable with your money. Yes, that's the entire thing, right? Thank you, Mr. Akanimo. So be reasonable with your money. Ask questions. Do your due diligence. Don't act like I'm a strong man, I'm a macho man when it comes with your money. I told you the other day, a man reached out to me and said he lost all his money, millions of naira, in an investment that he did. I think a crypto investment or something. Yeah, it was crypto. Yeah, either crypto or Bitcoin. One of those. He wasn't really familiar with that terrain. He wasn't sure. He put his money into it and his money went down the drain. He couldn't even tell his wife. He had to cry alone. As hard as it was, it really, really pained him. And even as he spoke to me, he was still very pained and all of that. So you have emotions. You are not a spreadsheet. You are not a statue. So before you throw your money into any investment or any business venture, make sure that it's a speculation, not an investment. Okay, yeah, you see? But he puts his money into speculation. So these are some of the things we should take note of. Be reasonable. If somebody is saying, come and do it, come and do it, come and do it, sit down and think. Do I really want to do it? What are the odds, and all of that. Thank you. Let me not drag this any further. Thank you so much for joining me on today's review. Reasonable is greater than rational. Right. Please don't forget to like this video, drop all of your comments, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. Tomorrow, we're going to be reviewing chapter 12, which is titled Surprise. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. See you tomorrow. Until then, be intentional. Bye-bye. You're welcome. You're welcome.